Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is SMB here at Codebase Alpha, and this is quite a unique moment, and this is the second time I've streamed today. So this is episode 43, and it's a bit of a break from what we've been doing with the synthesizer. It's still audio-based, but what we're looking at today is some C++ programming. And, hold my hand up, I've not programmed in C++ before, so it's going to be a bit of an adventure. But we're going to be using something called the JUCE framework. And this is going to help us write audio plugins, and it's got some support classes and a kind of a project structure which should help us. And we're also going to be using some algorithms and code that's been provided by an author called Will Perkel. So this is his book, Designing Audio Effects Plugins in C++. And it comes with a library of pre-written algorithms. I'm trying to find somewhere to put this book. It's quite a weighty tome, and these algorithms are all explained in the book. So we're going to be able to kind of start to use some algorithms and then go through how they actually work. And it's quite interesting stuff. There's quite a lot of mathematics in it, but there's a way you can start to understand some of the processes. Without going into lots of math, you can just do kind of empirical work with some of the filters, for example. And we might look at that. But today, I don't really want to kind of do that straight away. I want to just try and dive in and see if we can code something. And this is going to be a bit of an adventure for me because I think you're probably aware that I do kind of try to prepare for the streams quite well. And this stream is not prepared. So this is seat of the pants kind of coding in a language I'm not familiar with, in a framework I'm not familiar with. So it's really kind of what I wanted to do by doing this stream was just to kind of show a kind of a process that you might go through when you're trying to learn a new thing. And you don't think that the professional developers or experienced developers or other streamers, you just kind of pick these things up without any difficulty, because they don't. But what I do want to show is try to look at some transferable skills. So as you know, that my main programming language these days is C#, and I'm sure we can try and apply some of those skills and that knowledge we have, especially around reading documentation, to try and actually code something which works. So let's go and have a look at JUCE, shall we? So I'll just navigate to the JUCE homepage, and then we'll switch over into coding view. So let's go and have a look in coding view. So this is the home page of JUCE, and it does play on this pun of juice quite a lot. So the kind of project management portion of JUCE is called the producer, and that's what we're going to be using to kind of set our project up. Then we'll transfer to Visual Studio 2019 to actually do the development work. So as you can see, it's JUCE is a framework which is truly cross-platform. So we're talking about Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, and iOS. But we're going to be, obviously, I haven't got a Mac, so I'm not going to be doing any Mac-based work. We're going to be doing Windows, but everything we're going to use is going to be cross-platform, including the GUI. So as you can see from these slides that are whizzing by, there is a bit of a slant on audio with JUCE. It does audio very well, but it also does desktop apps and other kinds of applications just as well. And it's got some really nice kind of nice features. There's quite a good learn section here with some tutorials and also documentation. And the documentation is where we're going to spend a lot of time. So let's bring up the documentation. This is all the classes which have come with JUCE. You can see it's very extensive. And we're going to be using that a lot because we're going to be struggling through some of this code, I think. So let's have some music, because I think I need some kind of relaxing music to do this coding, because I think it's going to be a bit stressful. Gareth, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. It's a bit of an unusual stream. We're going to be going to be kind of flying by the seat of the pants really here. So JUCE. Okay, so let me just turn this sound down a touch. There we go, it's a bit better. Okay, so JUCE, what is it? Well, it's an open source product. The licensing is interesting. So if we go over to get JUCE, I think it's called. So it's used to produce professional software. So it's used by a lot of audio companies to produce plugins and audio software. But see, for personal use and for educational use, you can use it for free. The only kind of downside of that, it's not a downside for us, is that there's a little kind of pop-up which comes up when you're on your program that says "Made with JUCE." That's basically what it is. So we're using the personal download. As you can see, there's options for professional use and for fully commercialized stuff. So, but we're not worried about any of that. So we could probably go with education, in fact, and argue with an educational stream. But I've gone with the personal download, so that's what we're going to be using. Okay, so let's have a look at what JUCE actually looks like. So if I start JUCE up, we need to start a new project. This is what you're faced with when you start the new project window. So this is kind of the equivalent of Visual Studio's new project templates. So as you can see, we've got the option to create a GUI application, an application that involves animations or OpenGL, plain old console app, an audio application, an audio plugin, and we can also create static and dynamic libraries. You can also create a blank project, and there's also a whole bunch of demonstration projects which come with the system, and there's more that you can download. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start an audio plugin project, and you see I've had to play with this system before, some test plugins, test projects here, but we're not going to use those. What I'm going to do is go to my dev branch. Where's my dev branch? And I've got a folder already set up called multi-filter, and we're going to work in there. And the project is going to be called multi-filter. And we're going to work in Visual Studio 2019. You can work in all of these different environments, so Xcode on macOS or iOS, also Linux Makefile, Android, CodeBlocks, CLion. So quite a variety of environments that you can work in. So that's our basic setup. We can also here, if you're working with certain types of projects, you can auto-generate quite a lot of files. In this case, it's not going to auto-generate anything other than the basic files for an audio plugin. So let's create our project. Okay, so you can see what we get. We get a couple of C++ source files and a couple of header files. Now, when we're working with an audio plugin, there's quite a lot of metadata that we need to provide as well. So if we click this this cogwheel here, we get to fill in this metadata. So our project name is multi-filter. It's going to be version 1. The company name is going to be Codebase Alpha. Our website is going to be https://codebasealpha.live coders.dev. Company email, won't worry about. Audio plugin. We're going to create a VST3 plugin. So there's all different types of plugins you can create for audio, including the legacy VST type or the current Steinberg VST plugin layout. You can say whether it's a synth or a MIDI input plugin, but we're not going to bother with any of those. Let's close these up. So what's next? Plugin name is multi-filter, description multi-purpose filter plugin. Codebase alpha there. So we can change this to dev.livecodeers.codebasealpha.multifilter. This is rather like we do namespaces in Java, isn't it, with this kind of idea? It's an FX we're going to produce. We're going to produce a filter, and the rest of it is for different types of plugin. And we're going to default to C++ 14. The options there are 17 latest, whatever. So I think 14 is probably sufficient for our work. Okay, so that's that part of the setup. The other thing I need to do is actually add some modules. So the modules that come with JUCE, they're quite extensive, but we can add our own. And earlier I prepared a module that's in my user module area. It's called FX Objects. So this is a package of header files and a C++ source file which contains all the algorithms that we want to use. If you followed the synthesizer stream, you realise that when we're doing audio processing, we're actually kind of following complicated mathematical process, and this involves the digital version of a differential equation called a difference equation, and coding up those equations and how you process them can be quite involved. So we're going to take advantage of someone who's already written a whole bunch of them. We're going to use them, and then we're going to, at some point, as this strand of my stream progresses, we might get to actually changing them and writing our own. But we're going to kind of leverage what we've already got, and we're going to actually try and just build a plugin. Which is the object of the exercise, is to get something that works. And we're going to start off just by trying to get a GUI, to be honest, and then we'll see if we can get the rest of it to work. It should just be a matter of wiring stuff up, but that's kind of the understatement of the year, because knowing how to wire it up is going to be the trick. I think it's going to be quite involved. Okay, so that's our basic setup. We're going to export our project now to Visual Studio 2019, and we do that just by clicking this button here, which is Save and Open Our Project in an IDE. So we'll do that. And we'll launch Visual Studio. Okay, so we can now minimize this. Let's have a look what we've got. We've got some shared code. Okay, so we're not going to be touching any of this code at this stage. So there's JUCE library code and the JUCE modules. These are this library code is what comes with every project, and then the JUCE modules here are the optional things that we've selected. So this is all everything that's required for an audio plugin. So we've got the audio units here. We've got the core module, and we've got some graphics and UI stuff here. We've also got my module FX Objects, which sits here. If we look at that, you can see basically there's a header file, a C++ source file, there's a GUI header, and there's a filter header. And the filter header basically contains lots of pre-compiled pre-worked out filter coefficients, and don't worry about that terminology at the moment. We'll kind of cover up what coefficients are at a later time, when I'll try to explain to you what a filter actually is and how it works. I'm still learning how it works myself. So that's the shared code, and then we've got some external dependencies here, quite a few of them, and then we've got our JUCE library code. Okay. And then up here is the shared code, Hang on, where's our code? Multi-filter, here it is. So there we are. This is our source. So these are the 4 source files that that came kind of pre-packaged. So that's the framework basically. So let's go over to Team Explorer. Look at the changes. We've got 62 changes. So this is going to be initial commit. We're going to commit that to source. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use Git flow. If you've not used Git flow before, there's actually a nice little plugin where you can get for Visual Studio, which takes you through the process. So basically, we're going to split our project into a master branch and a develop branch, and then we're going to work on feature branches within the project. This is because I'm quite nervous of losing stuff that works. So we want to be able to be as flexible as possible and actually go and rewind our work as easily as possible. So I'm going to initialize our repo. This is our local repo. We're going to initialize it to have a master branch and a develop branch, and then it has these other branches available to us automatically. So let's just do that. Okay, you can see we've now swapped over. If you can't see, it's behind my name, I think, but it's behind me, in fact. But we've now swapped to the develop branch. You can see it up here. It's very small, I know. What we need to do now is go across to our branches, and we're going to want to push our develop branch up to GitHub. So let's push that branch. Okay. If I then go across to GitHub, we find our multi-filter repo. We should see we've got 2 branches. We're on, and we want to be on the develop branch. There we go. So that's all our base code. So that's all the automatically generated code, all kind of loaded up onto GitHub, and it's safe, and we've got it in our local repo as well. So I can now almost play at will and not risk damaging this project. Okay, so let's start off. Let's use Git flow, and let's start off with a feature, and we're going to try and work on the GUI. We start to work on the GUI at least. We create that feature. You see, we've now swapped into the feature / GUI branch. It's only got GUI up here, but it is prefixed with feature /. Okay. So I've got a few notes here, and I've also got me big thick audio book ready, because we're going to need to refer to these. Okay, so let's go and have a look at. So there's 2 files associated with working with a GUI. That's the editor and the editor.h and the editor.cpp. So let's go and look at the plugin editor. Okay, so it's got the class definition for multi-filter audio processor editor. So multi-filter is simply the name of our project. It's just appended that with audio processor editor, and it's obviously inheriting from that base class. We have your constructor and destructor here, and we have 2 methods, 2 public methods, which have been pre-set up for us. So these are overrides of the paint method and the resized method. So this is, remember, we're handling GUI stuff here. We've also got this here, which is a reference to the processor. So it enables us to link the processor and the editor together through a reference, and that's going to prove to be important. So we're going to so what we're going to do is produce a multi-filter. So if I bring up Paint, let's see if we can describe what multi-filter looks like. So let's have a pencil, and thick line. So what we're going to have is we're going to have something along the lines of that. I don't know exactly what it will look like. A big canvas, and we're going to have I don't know. We're going to have some kind of. We're going to have a knob there, a knob here, a knob here, and we're going to have a drop-down list here. So we're kind of looking at a cutoff frequency. There. This is going to be something called Q. And this is going to be our boost or cut. So this is going to enable us to change the frequency where our filter is going to work at. This Q is stands for quality. It's to do with how aggressive the filter is, really. Boost cut is to do with if we make our filter resonate, how much it boosts or cuts signal by, or for shelf type filters where we have portions of the frequency spectrum being boosted or attenuated. And this is going to be a drop down with filter type. Okay, so that's basically the idea. Let's get my audio effects book here, and it describes what these controls actually are. So this one here is measured in hertz. This is the frequency. This one here, Q, it has a range of in fact 0.707 to 20, so quite a big range. Boost cut is in decibels, and it's -20 to +20 decibels. And this is a list of strings basically, so choosing our filter type there. So that's the kind of design we're going for. So we need to find something that's going to represent a knob like that, or and a combo box within our system. So let's go and have a look at that. I'll just pop my book over here. Now it's going to require referring to quite a lot of documentation throughout this process. So that's all part of discovering a new framework and indeed a new programming language. So I know Gareth's watching. Hopefully he'll be able to give me some pointers on C++ where I go wrong. Literally pointers, I hope. And anyone else who knows C++, please chime in with any advice when I start to struggle. So let's have a look over in our documentation for JUCE and see what GUI components we might be able to use. So in the master branch, so we want the GUI section. So we could use a slider. See, there's a slider here, but we've used sliders in the other project, so we probably ought to use something different. There's a combo box, which is good, so we can get our combo box. There's an awful lot of things here, isn't there? So there's button, let's tell you what, we'll have to kind of try and get some clues. So we'll search for JUCE. Rotary rotary knobs. Not really helpful. Would it be rotary by any chance? Let's do another search. JUCE GUI controls. So this looks like there's some good resources upon the net here. So a tutorial here. Looks like that's not finished, is it? Segment display. We've got push buttons. I wonder how they do that. Let's go to the JUCE tutorials. Control audio levels. So that's a slider. We might have to revert. We might have to go to a slider rather than having what we want. We've actually added this new digital signal processing module, which looks very interesting, but we're not going to use that. Interface design, slider class, radio buttons and checkboxes. So slider class, maybe you can skin those. Okay, I think we're going to have to go for sliders to start with, because this is we're not actually getting an awful long way with this. Let's have one more look at the documentation for GUI. So burger menu, desktop display, our browser, grids, image button, scroll bars, shape button. Pop-up menus there. This box, text box. So let's just check out slider over here. Set rotary parameters. Look, I think you can change the style to be rotary. There's an awful lot of stuff you can do. Draw a rotary slider up. Okay, we'll go with sliders and we see if we can make them rotary. So let's go to here. So we wanted 3 sliders and we wanted a 3 sliders and a combo box. So let's set them up as private variables. So we want a slider, and this is going to be cut off frequency slider, cutoff frequency control, we'll say. We're on to slider. Step 1 was the Q factor control. Slider. Boost control. Ed Charbonneau, Raving Party 26. Amazing. Let's have some hyperspatial hype to welcome the Raiders. Thank you for joining. So you joined us at an interesting time where we're playing with C++. First time I've played with C++ in any kind of serious manner, and we're playing with the JUCE framework. So this is we're going to be producing an audio plugin for digital audio workstations, and we're going to be using the JUCE framework to do so. Which currently we just started, and we're in our first header file, the plugin editor file, which is where we define our GUI, and just trying to decide how to set this up. So the basic idea is the GUI is going to look like this. We're going to have a cutoff frequency. We're trying to get a dial, a Q factor dial, a boost cut dial, and a combo box to select our filter type. So that's what we're trying to set up here. So I think we can have a combo box. Filter type control. The names maybe have to change. We've got those elements there. So let's bring over the plugin editor. And currently it's 400 by 300. So it's going to be wider than that, I think. So let's make it, I don't know, 600 by 300. We've got this hello world kind of thing going on here. I think we can get rid of hello world. It's going to fill it with a... Under what colour it's going to use? It's going to just use grey perhaps. Interesting. What was that? It was white. There we are. So okay, we better leave. I'm not sure if that's actually changing. I think that's changing the text colour for hello world, so we won't bother with that. Okay. So now we've got our controls, which are over here. So let's have a look at our first one, our cutoff frequency control. So we've got presumably a whole bunch of methods off this, a great deal of methods off it. We want to set something. There's a slider style here. Let's try that. There's such a lot of choice. This is one of the kind of problems we've got here. So here's some styles: linear bar, vertical. I wonder if there's a rotary. Here's some rotary horizontal drag, rotary horizontal drag, rotary vertical drag. I think by that it means, do you move your mouse up or down to change the slider? And we probably want to move it up, don't we? So let's try that. What we can do, I guess, is we can actually build that. We better set up the other types, I think, first. So let's just set those up. So we had a Q factor control. We had a boost control, and then we had a filter type Filter type control, which isn't a slider. So what have we got on that? Let's leave that out for the moment and see what we actually can see. Let's build and so make sure it builds. We'll get lots of warnings from some of the code I've added in my custom module. It does seem to throw a lot of warnings. So there we've built. Now there's a plugin host that we can have a play with. This is the little plugin I played with before, which was a MIDI volume control. So let's have a new one. So we need to edit the list of available plugins. Options, scan for new updated plugins. Let's add our development directory to that list, which is here, dev, multi-filter, builds. Scan that. Multi-filters appear. Let's get rid of this if we can. Here's multi-filter anyway. So let's create a plugin, Cobase Alta multi-filter. I can't see it. There it is. Let's double click it. So we've got nothing visible yet. So at least we can test it now. We can see what it's going to look like. I think we might have to close that down. We'll save that though as multi-filter, so we can bring that back easily. Okay, let's go and actually see what we can do in making something appear. It compiled at least, and it compiled into a valid VST plugin. Otherwise that plugin host test thing would have complained. Right. I think what we need to do is make these visible. So there is a method called add and make visible, which I used in my previous project, and basically what we're going to pass in here is a reference to each of these controls. So with a reference we put in an ampersand and then the name of the control we're trying to reference. So let's add these in. And we'll do the filter type control as well. Filter type control, and here we've got our boost control and our Q factor. Build. So I'm just trying to get some confidence we can actually build a GUI and get it to look like something. Because it's a bit like me venturing forth into WPF the other day, which I don't know what we can do and can't do yet. Okay, let's start our plugin host again. Multi-filter. I think we might need to. Do we need to rescan? still got nothing visible. Okay. Just got to change this. Okay, let's see what else we need to do. We've added and made visible. In the paint method. I think that sounds right. I wonder if it's the colour. So it was G dot set colour, was it? Colours. Black. If we continue to struggle, what we'll have to look a bit. We'll have to check out one of the tutorials and see what that says. As I say, the kind of the idea of doing this stream is so that we can see what it's like to try to pick up a brand new. There's definitely something on there. Piece of pizza, thank you for the follow. Wonderful stuff. Here's some electric Alf to celebrate. Thank you so much for the follow. It's very, very kind of you. So we're not getting anything, are we? Which is a bit disappointing. So let's go and check out a tutorial somewhere. JUCE tutorials. Create a basic audio plugin. So they've not done any coding there yet. So let's set up their slider we did. Oh, they've done this in. It's not in the paint method. They've done this in the constructor, which is where we've gone wrong, isn't it? So let's move this code. Out. I don't think we need that. We're going to put this in the constructor. Here. Okay. Build. Determined to get something to show on the screen. Even if that's all I do tonight, I'm going to think, oh, something to see on the screen, which I can turn a dial. So this is say I'm normally quite a stickler for making preparations for streams, and knowing basically what I'm aiming for. I've got that kind of idea, a rough idea, and I've got lots of notes. And I've got me weighty volume audio plugin design book to help out, but it's going to be very much kind of feeling our way, I think, and to start to get used to this. Delete this filter. Let's create a new filter. Multi-filter, double click it. Still nothing at all. Okay. So let's change this to a linear horizontal slider and see if that's maybe it's the rotary part of it which is defeating us. Let's just go and check over here. So what they do, they set the slider style there. They set a range. Oh, we haven't set a range. That's probably not a good idea, is it? Tell you what, let's grab that code from there drop it in here. What happened then? Copy that code. Drop it in there. Cut off frequency. This is obviously wrong, but let's see if we can just get something visible we work with. Oops. Rebuild. So it looks like we're setting a range of 0 to 127, which is to do with MIDI, so that's not what we want. There's no label next to the slider. Not quite sure what that is. And then we've got setting a value of 1. So let's try again and see what happens this time. Nothing at all. I'm hoping that's the latest one. Get rid of some of these plugins. I assume that's where we're supposed to be looking. Multi-filter looks okay, doesn't it? It says scan. Plugins, create plugin, Codebase Alpha, multi-filter, double click. Nothing at all to see. Well. I'm a bit confused now, so let's this makes this function adds the slider to the editor. Maybe we haven't positioned it, maybe that's the problem. Yeah, so this bit here positions the... Maybe it's just off the screen or something silly. Let's position the slider. Let's copy that. And that was in the resized. Cut off frequency control. I feel once we get this something actually to be visible, we might be in business. But until we get something that we can see, I don't think there's much more we can do other than to keep struggling forward with it. Okay. Ah, we got a slider. Off frequency. I think so. I'll count that as a success. So we've positioned it. So because we made it vertical, there's not a lot of room for it, is there? So let's change it to one of these types. And the range, so get me the book that describes the range. So the range in hertz, so this set range is going to be the minimum, the maximum and the interval. So the minimum is going to be 20 hertz, the maximum is going to be 20,480, and it says the default is going to be 1000 hertz, and the steps is going to be, I don't know, what's the steps going to be in? Steps of 10. Build that and see if we get any kind of control. It's kind of an excitement to this process, but I think when you start out learning new frameworks, it can be very frustrating to get any kind of. We get nothing there, do we? Let's remove that filter. I think the clue is the positioning of the filter of the knob. It's not visible anywhere to us. Okay. What if we got a relative version of this rather than absolute bounds? Get bounds. What did it use before? Set bounds. Set relative bounds? No. Set bounds relative. So what does that take? So proportional x, proportional y, proportional width, proportional height. So we've got 4 controls. So I don't really. 25% of the x, proportional y, not sure what that's going to do for us. Oops. So if we still can't get this thing to be visible, we'll have to look at the tutorial again and get something visible on the screen. Okay, it's built. Ah, there's a control there, look. So, there we go, it's a rotary slider, isn't it, look. Okay, so it's far too big So the height is proportional to the height of the window, isn't it? So we want it to be about, I don't know, get these numbers really small. Wrong one. Make them all quite small, and then we can fiddle with them. What was it again? Proportional width. Width is a proportion. Let's make it 1.15 and see what that gives us. So another problem about working with these frameworks is working out what all these various parameters actually control. Once it twigs, we'll be okay. But until that case, it was behaving a bit weird there. I'm just kind of think we might need to position them absolutely rather than. There we go. So we got that. That's in the center. So if I go up and down there, that's how it's controlling that. So if I look at that position, that is right at the bottom, and it's in the middle-ish. We want it there, and this needs to be a lot wider. That's the bot again. Over here. So let's make it 1200 wide. So bounds relative. The values are factors of the parent size. For example, set bounds 0.2, 0.2, 0.5, 0.5 would give it half the width and height of the parent. Half the width and height of the parent, with its top left hand position 20% of the way across and down. So 2F, that would be saying that it's the top left position is 20% of the way across. Okay, and then it's the values are factors of the parent size. So 0.5. So this is, let's say, a quarter of the size. Got this open. We need to close it. So has anyone out there ever used JUCE? Or is it new to everybody? Okay, let's give it another go. Right, so this is kind of escaping me. So that's down there. And we want it there. It's also way too big. There isn't a GUI designer which I could actually play with the positioning. Changes the component's position and size. So the position is the so it wants to be really small by the sound of it, doesn't it? And the 20 is the position, top left 20% of the way across and down. Let's say 10% then. Frustrating, viewers, frustrating, but at least there's something visible. Okay. And this is why the feature branch was called GUI, because I do get the feeling we're going to be... Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So that's now tiny. So I think that must be... That's positioned quite nicely. That must be the 0.0, the 0.1 that we had. 0.0. Okay, so let's tweak that. Make it 1. Close those off. Oops, that's our diagram. Let's build that again. Okay. And we won't yeah, that's a lot better. There we go. That's our cutoff frequency. So we want another one of those there, another one of those there. And we can actually afford to make this a bit smaller, but let's get our other controls positioned first. Okay, so let's set up the rest of them. So the Q factor, not the X factor, the Q factor. So the Q factor is going to be Q. So the Q goes from 0.707 to 20. I guess it will be in increments of 0.1. 0.707 is the starting position. Let's set these to true, because that looks like if we hover over it shows the value, which might be useful. And we might have the text box, I'm not sure yet. Let's copy this down for the boost. Boost control. Okay, so this is going to be boost. So what this was this was 10%. So this is the size. Proportional X, proportional Y. Change the component position in terms of fractions of parent size. 2255 will give its height and width of the parent, so that can stay the same. And the position is the top left 20%, 20% of the way down. So this needs to be say maybe 30% of the way across. Let's see if we're on the right track with that change. It needs to give us a clue which of those two values we need to fiddle with. Okay. now we've got two controls next to each other, and if we hover over we get the value, which is what we wanted, and they're a bit too far apart. We need to kind of move them up a bit. So this was 20% down, 20% across, so I think we could probably do with 15 or even 10% across. So the relative width, so that's just 10%. Okay, well we'll leave that as it is for the moment. We got that was the Q factor we need to put in now, don't we? So let's put the Q factor in. So let's put this 2 and that 3, and this is going to be Q factor. We'll build it. We'll just go baby steps on trying to build this GUI so it looks half decent at least. We can work with that. Okay. So now we have so that's interesting, isn't it? The positioning still quite escapes me really. Quite like that though. That's the wrong. That should be boost, not Q factor. So let's fix that up. So boost control. So the boost goes from -20 to +20. It's in decibels. And in 1 decibel steps. This is dB. And the starting position is going to be 0. That's that. And then we've got this filter type control. Let's just try and make it. Have we made it visible? We have. Let's position it. Filter type control. Set bounds relative. What we're going to do is we're going to just whack that in. Say 0.4, but that's not going to be good enough, I don't think. But at least we should see something on the screen with that. Oops. No semicolon. So at the moment, the actual development experience, apart from being unfamiliar with building the GUI components and how it works, the actual experience as a developer who's not worked in C++ is it's my skills from C# are currently completely transferable. The only difference is this really kind of this syntax of passing the reference in there. So let's have a look. So we've got a combo box here. It's obviously not wide enough. But the actual layout of this still escapes me, to be honest. There's huge amounts of space this side. We can cut this down, but it'll probably squash everything up, of course. We need to make that wider though, that combo box. So the combo box. Let's try that and see if that controls the width. And I'm sure I'll be able to work out exactly what these are. A lot of these seem like they should say the same, and we don't each control to take a quarter or 25% of the width of the panel. I think is basically what we want. So we've moved the box has shot off somewhere, hasn't it? That wasn't. It's probably off the screen. That wasn't the right one to fiddle with. So that was at 0.1. That was proportional Y, so and the width would be this one, so let's say that's going to be 25%. It's a bit like watching paint dry, this process. I'm sorry about that, viewers, but once we get a basic GUI, we can try and move on. Oh, that's a lot better. And I'd say the height is way too big. Cut off, Q, decibels. Okay, well that's something. Unless we can populate these with, we want some labels under them, I think, don't we, and stuff like that. But that'll do for now. Okay. So. Okay. It turns out that we don't actually want to do some of this setup on here. This kind of stuff is not really what we want to do, because we'd use this concept of setting the ranges here when we're working with a GUI for a desktop application, where it's the user that's controlling those values. But in a plugin, it's not just the user that control the values. It can also automate those value changes in the digital audio workstation. And so what we have to use, we have to actually create special audio parameters and control those parameters and link those parameters to these controls. They also expose those parameters to the outside world through the plugin API, so that we can actually, as users of a DAW, we can actually control those through either attaching a low frequency oscillator to them and make them change, or other automation features of your DAW. So we're going to need to define some audio parameters, and then we have to link them up. So we're going to define our audio parameters in the plugin processor. Okay. So this is the header file for the multi-filter audio processor, and we're going to need to have a variable, and I've done a bit of research in how we link up all these audio parameters. Fuel Snable, we could implement controls a lot less in the synthesizer project. Yeah, I'd like to do that, because the sliders are a real pain. They take up so much room. Our synthesizer now basically fills my screen and doesn't fit on my laptop screen anymore. So yeah, we need to kind of have some nice rotary controls for the synthesizer. So if you want to have a go at doing something like that, Fuel Snable, I'd be most grateful. Maybe we could actually work it on stream. Might be a good idea. So we need a variable, which is going to be the plugin state, and the type of this plugin state is a really weird name. It's an audio processor value tree state, and I've got it written down here. Audio processor value tree state, and this is where, without some good documentation and some help, there's no way you're ever going to know it's going to be called that. I'm going to call that plugin state. Okay, so we're going to go into our processor now, and we need to populate that plugin state in our initializer block here for this class. So let's create a new entry in the initializer list. So this is what I've learned about C++ is that you can initialize things in your constructor body, but you could also use this initializer list, and it's apparently an awful lot quicker to use the initializer list when you can. And obviously we're all about speed with C++, so we should try and use everything that kind of improves that. So we've got plugin state. Okay, so it wants to take a number of that's the discouraged one. We need the second constructor, the second version. So it creates a state object for the given processor and sets up all the parameters that will control the processor. So you should not assign a new tree value tree to the state, or call create and add a parameter after using the constructor. Each audio processor value tree state should be attached to only one processor and must have the same lifetime as the processor, as they have dependencies on each other. Okay, so the first thing to do is we need the audio processor, and the audio processor is this. The next thing is an undo manager. We don't have one, so I'm going to put the null pointer there. Const identifier. So this is a JUCE identifier. I believe a JUCE identifier is a string, but we'll go and have a look. Identifier. Yeah. It's just a string, I think. What else do we need after that? We need to create a parameter layout. Parameter layout parameter has a set of constructors that allow you to add multiple ranged audio parameters and audio processor parameter groups containing ranged audio parameters to the audio processor value tree state inside this constructor. So we've got 4 parameters that we need to create, don't we? So let's have a method that does that. So we'll go over to our header, create a private. This is going to return parameter layout. I'm going to go with create parameter layout. Audio processor. Was that the namespace? What was the namespace? There we go. Okay. So next we want to define this, don't we? This is going to be that, isn't it? Have I redeclared it? No, I haven't redeclared it. There we go. Yeah, some of the error messages that you get are a bit obscure until you get used to them. So yeah, pure stable initialize, this is the way to go. Yeah, so I'll bet about that. I did a course on Pluralsight over the weekend on modern C++, and not a lot of it stuck, but some things did. Initialize this is one of them. Okay. Okay, so I've got some notes here about this. So we need to produce a vector, which is basically kind of a list of parameters, and they will then get added to this plugin state up here. So let's create a vector. Standard vector, I think that's right. And the type of the vector's a bit complicated, so it's a unique pointer. Of type ranged audio parameter. So remember, it talked about a group of it's a list or a group of ranged audio parameters. So that's the type of our vector, and we're going to call that params. And we call it audio params, shall we? Audio params. Okay, and then we need to define all of our parameters here. Okay, so these are a type audio parameter. So I believe how you do this, it's going to be cutoff frequency param is going to be equal to a pointer. I'm going to make a unique pointer of type something. It's going to be an audio parameter of some kind. This is going to be what did we set up in here? Integer of that range. So audio parameter float int. There we are. Audio parameter int. That's the type of it, and we can build it there. So what goes in there? There we go. So audio param int. Audio parameter int. Which is a subclass of ranged audio parameter, which is the type of our. Okay, so we have an ID, a name, the minimum value, the maximum value, the default. Okay, so an ID, and a name. Oh dear. So then we had the range, which was what we had over here, which was this. And I don't know what type that is. Can we auto it? We can. Basically a pointer, isn't it? So we can make some more of these. There was Q factor and there was boost. Boost. Let's get the ranges over here, and these are floats, so we need to change the type of this to float. That's the Q factor. This is a float, and it is that range. Okay, so let's set those up, and then we need to push these onto the parameter vector. So audio params dot now. Let's push something, push back. There we go, and we're going to. I believe what we want to do is move them. I think that's right. So cutoff frequency parameter. Now we'll soon find out if that's not right. Q factor parameter. And boost. Oops. Then we're going to need to return that. Begin to the end. So we need to deal with this this list box as well now, don't we? The combo box. So what have we got to do with that? Ranged audio parameter. Parameter choice. So it takes a string array of choices with the default index. Okay, audio parameter choice. So let's see what we can do with that. So this is going to be the filter param, filter type param. This is going to be choice. And then we want filter type. Filter type. Then it has string array. I wonder if we can just put I don't know what to do with this. Filter types. So that satisfies that. So how do we populate our string array? Oronog. JUCE plugin is not symptomatic to or by the effect way. Not quite sure what you mean by that. The JUCE plugin is not syntactic to all by the effect way. Sorry, Onog, I'm not quite sure what you're hinting at there. Yeah, I mean, this is it's not simple, is it? It's actually quite mind-bending at the moment. How are we doing for time? Not too bad. Creates an empty array. Copies an array. That's the move constructor. Creates an array containing a single string. So let's see if we can create a single string. Can I just do that? Okay. And then we need to push that on, don't we? Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is to actually wire up those values to our GUI components, and I've got some notes on that. So where was that note? Yes. We need things called slider attachments, or attachments to these various components. So what does my note say? Slider attachment. Back over here we can now, I believe now we don't need these because our parameters are going to control the ranges. So we don't need those anymore. Over in the plugin editor, I think we need to set something up over here. So this is going to be so we need a pointer. We need pointers to each of our controls, or pointers. We need to set some pointer values up that we can reference. So this is going to be std : unique pointer, and it's going to be of type something. What's the type? So it's slider attachment, but we need to get that namespace that we used over here. Slider attachment. Okay, and that's going to be cutoff frequency value. I'll have a bunch of those. So this is going to be the Q factor value. This is going to be the boost value. This is going to be the filter type value. Except it's not a slider attachment. It's going to be a combo box, isn't it? So then we're attaching it to a combo box. Combo box attachment. There we go. So we use these to link to these. These are basically exposing some values that we can control outside of our plugin. So from our DAW, or we can use the sliders and the combo box to control them. So it's like exposing an API basically. Over here, you need to actually set up the values. So so instead of doing that, you see, we don't do that. We don't do this either, because these are the initial values and those are controlled by our tree state. I think we can just get rid of them. And what we do here, so we want to make a pointer. So because we're going to populate that value, we're going to populate this pointer. These pointers we just created, we're going to make those pointers. This is safe, smart pointers. So make unique. So the reason we're doing pointers this way is so that so we don't have to worry about managing the memory. Hi, okay, so Kixon 1987. Yes, I am a software developer, but I'm not a C++ software developer. I'm a C# developer, and this is my first foray into C++, and my first real go at JUCE framework. So I've had a bit of a play with some kind of tutorials, but they kind of walk you through a lot of the stuff, and it's a bit different from what we're doing now. So I've got some notes, and I've got my book here. This book isn't a JUCE book. This is an audio processing book, which we're going to use to try and set up this filter. Pure Stable, wise choice on smart pointers, otherwise I might start ranting in the channel. Yes, so I kind of figured you might, so I did learn a bit about smart pointers. So I might not make all the right choices with my pointers, but I think make unique and unique pointer the right ones here. So this is one of those audio blah 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 type pointers, one of these types of pointers. So that's the type of it. It's going to be Semaphore2, thank you for the follow, very kind of you. Let's give you some Electric Elf. I'm sure FuelStable will enjoy that. This is FuelStable's WebGL shader that she's done for the stream, which is what we use to celebrate follow. So thank you very much for that follow. That's very, very much appreciated, Semaphore. Okay, so this is this plugin state we're after there, and this is the ID that we gave it. So this is how we're going to link it. We link the editor back to the processor by the ID that we gave the parameter, and that was cutoff. So we could do with having some kind of hash defines for these things. And what's the next thing we need? Oh, we need the control we're going to link to, which is the cutoff frequency control. There, I believe that goes there. Don't think we need anything other than that. Okay, now we can make some more of those. So this is going to be Q factor control. This is going to be boost control, and we need those IDs again. So we've got Q factor, and we've got boost. And then we've got another one of these. Oh, we need to make these. We need to make these, don't we? This needs to be, do I call it over in the cutoff frequency value? Q factor value. So this is where we're joining up. This is where the outside world now comes in and is able to point to this control. This control also points back into this Q factor value. Boost value. And then we've got our our list box, which I'm really not sure about at all. So filter control, value rather, that's going to equal to that. So that's going to be something very similar, except it's a combo box attachment. And it was called filter type control, and it's called filter type, I believe. Filter type, is that what I call it? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if it builds. It doesn't. Audio choice. No overload function takes 3 arguments. So that would be over in where would that be? Audio parameter choice. Audio parameter choice. No overloaded function takes 3 arguments. So that's a template. So that presumably is this here. Yeah. Audio parameter choice. See, it wants more than 3, doesn't it? Oh, it wants a default index. I don't know what the index starts at. One would think it would be 0 index, but I'm not sure. Well, it built this time. So it's picked up those ranges. No choices in there though. So we are connected. Because remember, I deleted those ranges. Let's try. Obviously this could be completely wrong. I thought that was supposed to start at 1,000. Audio parameter int. Oh no, these ranges are wrong, aren't they? So this should be this should be 1,000. This should be that, and this should be 0. No boost. So let's have a little gander at JUCE string array. Do some examples. This is all generated documentation. String pair array anyway. Other elements, other values. It seems to indicate that you can just an array of string. That's a move. Hey Jabba, thank you very much for the cheer. Are we actually getting anywhere, I wonder? Nearly getting there, I think. Thank you so much. Let's have some hyperspatial hype in chat for that. Thank you very much for that cheer. That's wonderful. Can we actually build a list that way? Let's just make sure we've linked everything up correctly. Filter type param, we pushed it up there. It's called filter underscore type. In the editor, in the H file, we had filter type value, which was a combo box attachment, and over in In CPP. Yeah. I wonder if we need to do anything with this filter. Type control dot. Add a make visible we've done. Add item. Look. We don't need to add listeners. That's when we do. That's the iObservable kind of pattern, but we're not using that. Listeners and broadcasters. Not sure at the moment. Let's just build it and see if we can see anything. I think that's going to defeat me on stream, that one. Right, I'm going to have a little bit of a break for 5 minutes just to go and finish a little job off upstairs at work. So I'm going to see what this does and then just take a couple of minutes with a be right back. So there's still nothing in that list, but this is now at the right position. So interestingly, the cutoff frequency is 1000, and I think that's what I said it would be. But I think we need to make that a logarithmic thing. And there's some way of making that cutoff frequency logarithmic. Cutoff frequency control dot skew or something. Set skew factor to midpoint. I think that might. I think that's it. Let's just see that, and I'll have to take this 5-minute break then. No, it doesn't do anything. Get rid of that for now until I understand what that is. I'm pretty sure you can make those controls logarithmic. But okay, I'm going to just be right back for just about maximum of 5 minutes, hopefully a bit less than that, and I'll be back. So take care. Right, we're back. That was a bit quicker than I expected. So I think we need to have a look if we can find anything about populating. So we JUCE populate box audio populate audio parameter choice. I'm trying to use the audio parameter choice in a combination with a combo box in particular combination. To connect the two, I'd like to use a combo box attachment. The following example, there won't be initial value in the combo box. It's because the attachment sends initial update. Not sure that's much help. Combo box to add item combo attachment equals combo box. I wonder. Type. So we had to add item here, didn't we? Let's see if we can get anything populated in there, but I'm not sure this is the right way to do it, because you're supposed to set the values up, I believe, in the parameter. But we'll see. If we can't get this bit working, we can get a little bit further, I think, than but I'm not sure. Yeah, so that's put a value in there, hasn't it? But whether that's linked at all to our audio parameters, I'm not sure. Okay, well, tell you what we'll do. We'll what we'll do is put some more values in. And I've said, I think that the default selection was number 1, didn't I? Item 1, 2, 3, and 4. Over in the over here, I think I said that the default was 1. Let's make the default 2. Rebuild. Okay. I'm pretty sure this is not doing, it's not linked up, but we'll see. Oh, my item 4 is the default at 0, 1, 2. My item 4 was the default. My item 4 was option number 4. Just the last one put in. Probably, isn't it? Okay. Okay. Let's see if we can. How can we prove what's going on? We need some. I need some more clues about this string array. So let's go back and have a look at processor here. So where we're adding our, so these things are all working. So we're managing to set up these ranges and these defaults, these starting values here. It's order parameter choice that's giving us the issue. Audio parameter choice. Audio parameter choice. So, constant string parameter ID, constant string name. Okay, we've given those a string array of choices and a default index. Provides access to the list of choices. So it's a reference. Do we need to have it as a pointer to filter types? Is that what it's asking for? Or is it that? Try that, shall we? Oops. No, it doesn't like that, does it? It's all fallen over nastily. Oh no, so because I got this open. Let's try that again. So this, oh no, it's the same thing, isn't it? So this is where my skills as a C# programmer are not proving that transferable. And they should be, really, shouldn't they? I should be able to figure that out. So, is that actually a list? Filter types. copy, move, create an array containing a single string. Create an array containing other values. Create an array containing a list of strings. Hang about, what's this then? So it looks to me like it should be able to just take a list of comma separated to string ref, which is simply quotes. Can we do something similar to what you do with C#? Can we do that? Clearly not. Interesting how it doesn't like it. It's a bit strange. Have I missed a semicolon? String up there, isn't it? There we go. Silly thing. So what's the bot doing, Fuel Snowball? Is it you trying to post a link, are you? Post it into Discord. Sorry about the bot. I thought perhaps being a VIP might have lessened the strictness of the bot on you, but obviously it doesn't. I'm getting some funny interference above my head, aren't I? I need some extra light. I think light's not good enough at the moment. Okay, filter types, string array, creates a string ref, a raw string literal. The string ref object does not take ownership of this. Change the lifetime of the string ref. This point cannot be null. That seems to work, doesn't it? So why don't we get those values linked up? That's what's confusing me. If that's if it's accepting that as being a valid thing, an array of strings, then why don't we see any strings in the drop down box? That is what's confusing me. And why can't I find anything on Tinternet to help me? Creates an array containing a single string. First value, other elements, other values, other elements, other values. Other elements, other values. Our first value of the values. Creates an array containing a list of strings. If you're stable, if you've got something that might help, post it into Discord for me, and then I'll pick it up from there. JUCE audio parameter choice. Combo box. For example, there won't be initial value in combo box. This is because combo box attachment sends an initial update before the combo box has items. The solution I came up with works, but it's very elegant. Combo box. Corresponding parameter, brackets combo box. Don't know what that's all about. The combo box is in a different class. That's attachment is equal to that. Combo box attachment. Combo box attachment, which is over here. Parameter combo box, that's completely different syntax from what I'm looking at. Did you post anything there, Pure Stable? No. So annoying. We're running out of time on the stream as well, so I'd like to get this to do something. no good, is it? That's got a drop-down box. But it doesn't seem to be an audio parameter choice, does it? Float or bool. What if our choice works with way of strings presenting? So I'm sure that's going to take us where we've already been. Yes. There's a... Can we get the code for this? I think this is old though. Don't think this is very modern. Source. Float and bool. I don't think it's going to have choice in it. It's a bit of a pain. I think it's just phase inverter. Oh, viewers, it's so frustrating. I'm running out of time to actually continue much past this. If I just said, okay, we'll just carry on, because I could accept I could just default the drop down value and carry on, but I think I've only got about 15 minutes that I want to continue streaming for, so I'll just persevere a little bit longer on this, and then probably going to have to stop. That's a combo box, don't want that. Audio parameter bool. Float. Audio parameter choice. Class reference. Set of choices to use, which is what we're trying to set. choices, const string array, JUCE parameter choices. Just like an example, really. Look at this. String array add, string to add. Let's try that. Create an empty one, and then do filter types dot add. Doesn't seem any different from what we were doing before though to me, so that's a problem. Try that. Minxie Rose, hello there. Draco, welcome. C++, yes, we're struggling through my first exposure to actually trying to code some C++. So, welcome to the stream, both of you. Good to see you. So we're trying to build an audio plugin. We're just starting out on the... See, there's nothing there. We've got these sliders working and hooked up to the audio parameters, but this doesn't seem to want to play. And I think it's fundamentally I'm just doing the wrong thing. Here, when we set up the audio parameters here, we set in the start, the min, the max, and the default, the starting value. Here we seem to do the same, but at this point it's asking for a string array, and we're providing a string array. That looks like a string array to me. And yet we're getting nothing populated. So I'm pushing it back. Audio parameters push back, moving the filter type param into the vector, audio params, creating it there. So I'm just guessing, aren't I, really? Oh, he wants the first item ID offset. But doing this, they may well appear in that list, but I'm not sure they're actually linked, because they need to be linked to the audio parameter. Ah, that's interesting. So number 2 is selected, look, and number 2 was the default, so filter 3 is selected. let's change the selected value in the audio parameter. That was 012, wasn't it? So what's that saying? That the offset, (012), that's number 2, that's an offset. First item ID offset. The ID of each item was indexed in the array plus the first item on, so that's 1, 2, 3. That should be 3 in that case, shouldn't it? Over here we said it was 2. If I change that to 3, in theory filter 3 should still be selected, but it's going to be filter 4 because it's not sure I follow this. So filter 4. What did I send it to? 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. So filter 4 is selected. This is controlling the pre-selected value, isn't it? That is interesting, isn't it? So filter type seems to be having no effect. Let's just try a silly experiment, and we know where they're coming. They're coming from that combo box populator thing, aren't they? Which I don't think we should be doing. Frustrating. Be nice to get. Oh, we got this open over here. That's why that is. Frustrating part about this is that, you know, this is simple stuff. If you know how to do this one line, this connection, and it just doesn't seem intuitive. Just doesn't seem very intuitive. The filter 4. So that list is definitely coming from the combo box. So 0, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't even follow its own because I've said that its offset is 1, so that should be 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, 1, 2, 3. It should be 4, shouldn't it? But those values are definitely coming from there. We need to sort this out. It's terribly clunky looking, and you can make really nice interfaces with this. So, but this does seem to be doing something. Feels a bit like going around in circles. See, that has selected item 1, 0, 1. So that has affected, that control is being affected. By my audio parameter. But why isn't it being populated by the audio parameter? You select an indexed named choice from a list, which is exactly what we want to do. appends a string at the end of the array, which is, so we've got whatever that is, a string array that's supposed to be. Let's go back to audio parameter choice. It takes a string array there of choices, and then the default item index. Running out of time. Set of choices to use. The index of the default choice. I don't know if anyone has got any insight about what I'm setting those 4 values. That should reference whatever that is, shouldn't it? So it should just be passed by. That's saying it's being passed by reference. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to solve it tonight. Right, access to the list of choices its parameters working with. Not that one, this one. So the editor. Filter types. It doesn't even make any sense with that. Add item list. Adds an array of items to the drop-down list. The item ID of each item will be its index in the string array plus the first item ID offset. What's this? The default. Last roll of the dice. No. Okay, I'm going to have to call a stop at that point. So let's commit what we've got so far. Added basic GUI components. I'm not going to push it to GitHub until we've fixed that that connection between the audio parameters, but we'll commit it locally onto my feature branch. We're using Git flow on this project, so we're on a feature branch called feature slope GUI. So I've pushed it to that branch, and means all that code on develop, which is up in GitHub. If you wanted to have a go yourself from my starting point, you can do, but you won't have the changes I've made. You have basically where we started all those hours ago. So I'm going to investigate this this further, because I'm a bit mystified, and I think I need I need to be away from streaming to actually have the time to think about it and then do some more research. But I think we're on the right lines. We've just been kind of going around in circles for a while, so we've got something that was visible at least, and kind of the aim of the first stream on JUCE was to actually get something which we could see, and I was starting to worry we wouldn't get anything we could see after the first 45 minutes, where the GUI was a bit difficult to get to make visible. I'll also have a look at the relative sizing of these relative bounds things, try and sort out exactly how those work, so that the GUI is not so clunky, because the drop down list is huge, but the actual dials, they look okay. They're just not in the right positions, I think. So let's call that a day. Thank you for everyone who's joined. It's been a kind of very challenging stream for me to do this, so I'm glad that there was people around interested enough to watch. I'm going to find someone to raid now. Looks like we've got Lannan, so let's go and see if we can raid Lannan, shall we? See if he's on. He is on. So let's go and raid him. So thank you everyone for joining the impromptu stream. What I'm going to do is initiate this raid now to Lannan. Do stay and spam chat with emotes. If you've got any of my emotes, do that. Otherwise, your own raid emotes, and let's give Lannan a bit of a boost to his viewing figures. So take care everybody, and I will see you next Monday is the next planned date, and we'll do some more JUCE. Take care everyone.